Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and finally my last two Silky Outback saws arrived. I originally ordered all three direct from Silky, and this one arrived pretty quick. It was also available on Amazon, but I was waiting for the two smaller ones, and they just arrived months after I ordered them. Now this one I did do a video on earlier. This is the big boy 360 Outback version, and I was kind of surprised that the prices, especially on Amazon, just went all the way through the roof. I saw it over $150 for this guy. I think I paid like $89 or something, and I think I said don't like pay more than $100, but they just it skyrocketed. I have not seen these available, and I was really happy to get them. And I'm going to go over a few of the differences here. And why I really like Silkies. Now, these are Japanese-made saws, Japanese steel. Every one of them is identified by, like, the name. Like, this is the Pocket Boy. Same here, Pocket Boy. Then they jump up to the Gom Boy. And then finally up here to the Big Boy. And then they actually make some of these that have blades that are over 1 meter in length, and this is actually the length here. This is 360 millimeters. This is a 240. You can see that 240 right there, and then 170. They do not make, to my knowledge, yet an Outback version that is in this small Pocket Boy of 130, and I wish they did, because this is just a fabulous little saw here. So a couple of differences between them. There are straight blades, there are curved blades, and then there's one, this great big one has just a very slight curve. Now if you add a curve to the blade, say with this 240 centimeter or 240 millimeter blade, what it does is it tends to anchor itself as you're crossing over a branch or a wood round, and it tends to stay centered a little bit better than if you're trying to use a flat blade. And I actually got one a while ago. I got this curve, the Ultra Cell Curve Professional. This is also a 240 for that very reason, because a lot of times I was reaching up in trees and this would actually stay on the branch. It would hook itself a little bit and work quite well. This one uses an aluminum frame, same stainless steel hardware here. Whereas a lot of them use a steel pressed handle with a rubber overmold or rubber grip. Now these in the Outback line use what they call a composite grip or an arborist grip. It's a harder material here. It tends not to transmit heat very well or cold, whereas this thing can kind of change texture a little bit in the cold. And in the heat. It can get tackier in the heat, but it's also quite durable and a little bit more hygienic, because in this case of the small 170, you can see there's another number, and that is 10. That is 10 teeth per inch. If you get to 10 or more, you are in the realm of what's also known as a bone saw, and that's a fine enough tooth set that you can cut through, say, bone if you're hunting, big game bone. And they actually say then that this fits into both the hunting realm and the wood processing realm. And that's exactly what I'm going to use it for, by the way. Another thing is that if you look at the spine of these, there are two notches, so you can have it in the first notch or the second notch. First notch is more traditional in shape, a little more predictable for most people, but you can pop it out into this, and that has to do with if you're trying to get down, say, a root cutting, ground level flush cutting, you can see that actually then will allow you to get your hand up out of the way while you're cutting down, which is a nice option. You just pop these screws out, or this central pivot. If you want to replace the blade, you can order those. I have done that. And you can just swap a new blade in. This particular type of Silky saw has another feature, in fact all of them do, where the spine is actually narrower, less thick than the cutting surface. So if I grab my caliper here and throw it up on this end, you can see it's 1.34 millimeters there. I put it on the spine, and I've got 1.1 millimeters. So it's almost 0.3 of a millimeter difference in thickness between the cutting edge and the spine, which means that that taper causes the blade to move more freely within the wood workpiece and not be pinched. Whereas if it was perfectly parallel and there was any swelling or movement or anything, it would be easier to pinch the top of the blade, creating friction or the inability to pop the blade out. So it's a nice feature. Another thing that these come with is cases. Now, the two smaller ones come with plastic cases, and that's not unusual for the Silky. Let me drop that guy in. Looks like that. That's pretty normal. I have case for this. But this one's a little unusual, this larger one. And I haven't had a case for one this large before. But the way this case works is it actually has this belt loop here, but this belt loop is just hooked on by two little clips, or two little indentations here that drop into these notches. You can see that. So it's simply the force right here that is holding on to it, which also means you can't open it unless you take it off the belt. It's a little interesting. And then when you drop the blade in here and snap that down, you have to pop this in position, and now it's secure in there. Kind of interesting. The biggest one here comes in a bag. It's got a zip bag here. And then you can just throw this in. What I also noticed is there's plenty of room inside this, so I actually can put all three saws in this one bag if I wanted. It does help protect it. It's not a bad idea. But anyway, the last feature I wanted to point out, which is kind of an interesting one, has to do with this black coating. This one, by the way, as I pointed out, there is a number. This is 8 teeth per inch. The bigger one here, remember 10 teeth on the smaller saw for a bone saw. And then on this one, if you look, this is 6.5 teeth. So this is a much coarser one. This has 1.5 more teeth per inch. And then the smallest one here has 2 more teeth per inch as a 10. And then you can see in this guy here, you can buy really fine blades. In fact, if you're in this series, the color of the handle at point of purchase tells you the blade teeth, or at least within, if it's a fine, an extra fine, a coarse, a medium. For the softer woods in Montana where I live, I don't have any trouble with the coarse, and I guess I really like that it's a bright orange handle, easier to find. You might think, gosh, if I drop that, would I find it? You know, it would blend right into the forest floor. Well, that might be deliberate, because you also notice this black coating. This is nickel tin coating. Makes this a little bit stronger, but also if you look at here's the package that it came in. Look at this. Here is the black plating. Read the last line here, and improved cutting, blah, blah, blah. Black, low reflection blade allows for stealth, low impact activities. What does that mean? I'm not going to get into it, but basically what it's saying is there is a low visual signature. I don't know if there's a low IR signature too, you know. Somebody was watching you through infrared glasses, but basically that's one of the selling keys for this particular saw or series. But anyway, I really like Silky saws. I have no trouble recommending them. I know that a lot of you out there have them and have had great success with them. You know, add your thoughts in the comments. But here they are, the 3 fairly new Silky Outback series folding saws. And I'm glad to finally have these guys, and I definitely am going to use them this summer. And with that, Doc out.